Hi, friends. Thank you for joining us on Food for Thought. My name is Sunil. I am the priest and rector of Christ Episcopal Church in Westerly, Rhode Island. And this is our video podcast, Food for Thought. And for those of you who are new to our to this experience, I hope that you will enjoy this time. We begin with a food for thought, a piece of wisdom that helps us to kind of engage the world, and then we have the opportunity to talk to guests who give us insights on how to live in a world that's filled with challenge and adversity, and also joy and hope. And so we have a wonderful two wonderful guests that are joining us today who will tell us about a couple of things that they are doing to bring about joy in the world. But first, this is also a pre-recorded session, so if you are here, please do say hello. If you do watch us, please say hello. Tell us how you enjoy this programming, how it's impacted your life, and if you have any deeper questions, especially from the guests that are coming, that we would ask you to comment, and we'll respond accordingly. Because this program is watched in all parts of our country in the United States, not just in Westerly and Stonington, but also in in Rhode Island, in Connecticut, and of course the U.S. And then it's globally watched as well. So please do write your questions and comments, and we'll get back to you on that. So today, this is we are still in the midst of Lent in the church, and one of the things that I've been advocating for this season of Lent, and Lent is usually a season of penitence, a season of just helping us to think and be reflective on our lives, and how we could do things better, and sometimes how we sometimes find ourselves repenting of the ways we've been living in the world. And so Lent is a time of reflection. It's a time of, and for many people in the church, in the Catholic Church, and even in the Episcopal Church, and many church traditions, it's a time of giving up. We find ourselves engaging in spiritual practices of fasting and prayer and almsgiving. We give up, and then as we experience this giving up, we understand what God gave up to be present in our lives, and how God gives us and gives and gives, and this sense of emptying helps us to kind of connect with God in a powerful way. And so we are able, through these spiritual practices, to come closer to God, and also to come closer to our neighbor, to realize that we are not far away, and often we feel far away. And the idea is that in Lent, sin separates us from God and from our neighbor. But one of the things is that I've been advocating through this whole season is not just to think about giving up, which I think is an important thing to do, especially as we move towards Holy Week. But sometimes I've had the experience of trying to power my way through Lent, giving up chocolates, or giving up something that's almost frivolous, that really is more of an example of my willpower, my strength within me, my convictions, right? Uh, but Lent is, but I found myself in those practices, like giving up chocolate, or not eating, or not doing something for this, during this 40 days of Lent. I found myself more of a building a sense of pride within myself, you know, and I wasn't getting closer to God, and I wasn't getting closer to my neighbor. I was just trying uh, to to make myself feel good. So one of the things that I advocate is, giving up is good, giving up for those things, but remember always the intention. The intention is to help us to relate to God and to our neighbor, and not to just focus in on ourselves. But I also suggest that in this time, to add a practice. in this time of in the season of Lent, add a practice to pray, maybe, or maybe take a moment of silence before the food that you are eating, and just remember that they are gifts. To take a moment before meeting people and just understand that the people that you are going to meet are gifts from God, and they might have offer some wisdom. So instead of giving up, maybe add a practice that allows you to connect with God and your neighbor. And in that way, you might find new and deeper insight on, and your mind might be softened to the experience, and you could see the gift that we've been given in this wonderful creation. Uh, I had one Lent. I had this one thing that I used to do, and that was, um, I decided in one Lent, I think probably about 3 years ago, at the beginning of the pandemic, I decided I'm going to add a lot of practices, though, right? So I did my morning prayer, and then I had noonday prayer, then evening prayer, then I did Compline, and they're all like prayer times. And then I would say, I would find myself, morning prayer would be great for me. I just feel connected to God and my neighbor. And then noonday was okay, but I was starting to get sleepy. And then evening prayer around 4 o'clock, I just couldn't do it. I fell asleep. And I find myself not getting closer to God. And then Compline was really kind of tough too. That was the evening prayer and a late evening prayer. Um, but when I was talking to my spiritual director, and I said, that 4 o'clock time, I just can't seem to get it. I can't seem to find my connection to God and neighbor through the evening prayer. And then she said, Sunil, Father Sunil, why don't you do this? What do you like doing? And then I said, well, well, around that time, I like dancing. Dancing? Yeah, I like dancing. I turn on Tony Braxton and I dance. And then she said, well, why don't you use that as your prayer practice? Because I was moving my body, and it was a joyful experience. And after I, uh, started dancing, I started to feel connected, and it was a joyful experience. I just loved it. I loved my body. I loved being able to dance. I loved being able, and even if I couldn't dance well, right? But I just loved the music, and I just met it. It felt as if my soul was being enriched by this experience. And so, for the rest of that Lent, and I still do this, around 4 o'clock, instead of doing evening prayer, I dance. I dance, and that's my prayer to God. That's my practice that helps me feel connected to God, and also helps me feel connected to my neighbor, because it just frames me and makes me feel joyful, and I feel like I could have a great conversation with people and find the joy of life again. You know, and so I commend that to you. Do something different. Today, we have our guests. We have our guests who are coming and joining with us, and they are just powerful people. Felipe is a Brazilian-born member of the International Dance Council, and Felipe's last name is not in my bio, which I wish it was in my bio. But Felipe, when he comes on, will introduce himself, his last name, but Felipe, I've known him for about 4 years, and he and his group are establishing a ballet company, and they are going to be putting on um, a performance in the late March, early into April. And so Felipe has a wonderful bio. He's been performed in repertory ballets, musical theater, Brazilian television, and he's some highlights are he was a soloist in ballets like Cinderella, Swan Lake, Paquita, Don Quixote, The Nutcracker, and a whole bunch of other things. And so, he's also a person who has a wonderful sense of himself and of deep wisdom. And so, Ben, please invite Felipe on. Hey,
Hello,
Felipe. Felipe, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Felipe, I'm so sorry. I didn't have in your bio the your last name, Puletini. And
It's a
so
hard
thank you.
one.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. And you have brought with you your principal dancer for your next production, which is
Yeah, Isabel
Isabel.
Cary.
Hello,
All
I'm
right,
Isabel.
how are you doing, both of you?
Very well, thank you. We're so happy to be on here with you.
Good, good, good. So tell us about the production that's coming up here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so we are doing Sleeping Beauty, which is a classic fairy tale everybody heard about at some point when you were a child. So this year, actually, Sleeping Beauty it's celebrating 133 years from the first time it was performed in Russia. So
Mm,
the original choreography is from Marius Petipa. So we are doing a classical adaptation of the traditional choreography. They score by Tchaikovsky, which everybody knows and is beautiful. And so we have a bunch of characters. Isabel is our Aurora, and you have Prince Desiree, we have Caraboss, and the third act of the show, actually, in the wedding, has a couple guests that we will know and relate as our childhood to. Has the Bluebird, has the Red Riding Hood, Cinderella, and so it's just an amazing story. It's just a way to, you know, bring that childhood back and also educate our audience. In our mission, we have a project that's called Bring Back the Classics. So we wanted to, every year bring a new ballet to bring back that sense of going to the theater and watch those ballet productions that it's lost. People just seeing modern dance all the time, and which is good. Don't take me wrong. Um, but some kids, even our own students, sometimes we get a new student and like, oh, do you ever been to a theater? Oh no, so you never watched the Nutcracker? No. So it's missing that sense of community and going to a theater. And for us, the education and audience education, yeah, it's really important. So we are very excited and can't wait to show you everything. We have wonderful costumes that were handmade from a costume designer in Brazil. He put stone by stone. We have it here to show you if you want to see.
yeah.
It's going to be beautiful. So thank you for letting us share a little bit.
So no, I think it's great. So then this is going to be in Mystic. Where exactly?
It's at the Guard.
At the
It's
Guard.
actually at the Guard Art Center in New London, which is a spectacular theater. It's been around for, I don't remember when it was built, but it's been around for a really long time. It's part of a historical society. It's really spectacular. Inside it's all gilded and there's lots of ornate architecture and chandeliers, and it really gives you that experience of going to the theater. You get to get dressed up, and then you walk in, you're ushered to your seat, you find your seat, you sit down, you read the program, and then the lights dim. It's a magical experience that so many people that we teach have never gotten the opportunity to experience. And so we're hoping to bring that back to this community, and without them having to travel to New York or Boston or a larger city to see that experience and feel the power of live theater.
I think that's so beautiful, especially in this post-pandemic time. We've been all sequestered in our little, in our little offices behind laptops, but to be in the midst of community and to be out there in the theater again. I mean, the theater has suffered a great deal during the pandemic,
Yes.
and so this is an opportunity to come back again and to re-enliven the energy around going to the theater and seeing a live performance.
Mm-hmm.
And a fun fact about it, pandemic, as you mentioned, Isabel, when she was dancing for Ballet Virginia when pandemic hit, and they were actually doing Sleeping Beauty. So they were at the stage rehearsal the final day before the open night, and the director came in and told them, we need to shut down, so go home. So she never got to perform.
I never got to perform. I'm doing the same role that I was supposed to be doing in 2020. And one of our other dancers, Victoria Jensen, she as well was supposed to be doing Sleeping Beauty at the same time.
Yes.
Oh my God.
The resurgence, and we feel like we get to revive our roles that we never got the opportunity.
Oh, what a blessing. You get to do this. Yeah.
It's so special.
Yeah. And so let me ask you, I mean, dance is, I just talked a little bit about my experience in dance, and I just, being able to move my body, and it's an expression of joy, and just being able to feel the different parts of me, right? I mean, many times people just go through the work day and the work week, just not conscious of their bodies. But dancers like you both and your company, you're well aware of your body, and tell me how your soul gets enriched by your experience of dance.
Do you want to start? She's the one dancing still, so I will let her start.
You're absolutely right. You do get to feel your body, and you also get to feel closer with your environment. For me, at least, it makes me feel connected to wherever I am at that moment, whoever I'm with. It just brings me closer to everyone I'm around. And then for me, it's how I express myself. Some people talk, some people write, some people like to sit and sing and anything. But for me, it's dance. So the way I see the world, the way I go through life is I see movement. I see movement in everything around me, the way the tree moves, the way people walk to work, all of it. And it just makes the world more beautiful for me. And so if I can bring that through my dancing and touch anyone else and make them feel something, that's my goal. And it just enriches the world, in my opinion, and for me.
Isabel, can I just follow up on that? Because I just love that. So you're watching the world, and you're watching your environment around you, and you're seeing the motion there, and then you're almost model or mimicking the motion in some ways, right?
Absolutely.
That's really interesting. I never thought of it that way. I mean, the sway of a tree, or
like a movement, and even just watching the way people walk to work, for example, even without talking, without negotiating, they know who goes first, who goes second, where, so they don't bump into each other. It's all very coordinated.
Choreographed, yeah.
And it's really amazing to watch. If you watch like any overhead view of like Times Square or something in New York, it's amazing that more people don't run into each other, but you're constantly moving in the ebb and the flow. It's really beautiful to watch. And it is
wow.
Like,
yeah.
I never thought of it that way. That's interesting. That is interesting.
And it is fun because then when you turn, like we both teach, right? So when you turn into that role of a teacher, sometimes, especially young children, they learned by reflecting, right? So we need to give them examples and things that they relate to it. So sometimes you're going to teach a movement that they are not getting. You go to the normal daily basis and you're like, okay, reach to the cabinet to get something. Or, okay, now you need to jump a puddle of water on the street. And things that you do in the day, and then just clicks. And even for us, now she's doing Aurora, for example, many times we are trying to, Aurora is very deep in details of acting. It's, I think, one of the hardest rules for a female dancer. And sometimes we want to take something out of her in rehearsals. And we were like, okay, go back to the basics, and then we were like, okay, imagine if you look into your mom and you're asking for help, like be a human again. And then the thing just clicks. And so the watching for us is really important. And then when you be that role of the teacher and the choreographer, the simple tree moving, it's like an inspiration for you to create a piece. And like a musician, when you write songs, right? Sometimes you're sitting and you're watching the ocean, and then that's a song coming in. So for us, it's the same thing. It's really interesting.
That's beautiful, and I love that. You've just given me some really things to think about that's insightful. I mean, I never, sometimes in life, to tell you the truth, I have never been to a ballet. So yours is going to be my first.
Coming.
And the thing was, part of it is that the ballet often seemed to be, for me, kind of like an experience that I couldn't connect to, or I couldn't wrap myself around a little bit,
Yes. And we talk about this all the time, and that's why for us it's so important this project Bring Back the Classics, because we often speak about old days, right? When you see ballet on the old times, ballerinas were that untouchable person, right? They were perfect. It's like it's an always reaching for perfection. So a normal person doesn't connect, because it's like I can't be there. Going to the theater, you have to play dress up. People are always fancy and looking. So that's why for us it's like it's education, right? Has to start from the school when you're little, and bringing that to the community, and to say to those kids, no, this is why we dress up. It's just because of fun night.
And dressing up can mean a magnitude of different things.
Yeah.
Right.
Your nice pair of jeans that you deem nice. It's so you feel beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it has nothing to do with your outward appearance. It's how it makes you feel. And
so it's interesting. I mean, I love the way so the ballerina, the ballet, is about an idealized version of seeing our body move, right? Isn't in some way, like this is movements that have been perfected, and all, and dancers are amazing athletes. You all have great core strength, and and being able leg strength and all sorts of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so so the movements are fluid and flow, and so it's idealized. And even the spectator just coming there and watching these idealized movements, and then also calling us to something high, striving, right? Is that it?
Yeah,
that's part of it. And then it's not even necessarily viewing it as like the ideal. It's
okay.
The biggest thing, at least this is just my experience with it, and I am biased because I love ballet. But for me, when I was a young girl, and I would go, more than that, watching these people on stage dance and express themselves and move through the story and tell a story with their bodies, more than it even being the ideal of what I wanted to be, it just made me feel joyful. It made me see the beauty in the person sitting next to me and the way they're sitting looking and completely absorbed with what's going on. It made afterwards, when a little girl is skipping out of the auditorium or the theater or wherever the dance production is, and they're elated, the energy that it gives off is just so special. And getting to watch that is incredible. And yes, it is. They're fluid, and it takes so much work and so much practice.
But they don't know.
Yeah, the audience doesn't need to know that. That's the other thing is about it's so often people view ballet as very elitist, or, oh, it's not for me, I won't understand what's going on. But you don't have to understand whether her foot was pointed or all of the technical things. Ultimately, it's like going to the movies. You can go and watch and just enjoy the story that's being told, and let it make you happy, make you sad, make you laugh, feel every emotion that just going to a regular movie would be, but it's live.
It's like what we mentioned at the beginning, like Sleeping Beauty, everybody heard about, right? Disney has the movies, has the book, so everybody already at some point heard the story. So it's not something that you don't know just because it's ballet. It's the same story. It's just taught by a different point of view, and it's impossible. And often more like adults when they go to the theater, they get more excited than the children, because it brings you back that joy that sometimes you're missing because of a routine of working 7 days a week, and being a mom, being a dad, and all the pressure that we have, being an adult. So sometimes you just sit and watch a fairy tale where, at the end, the prince has to kiss the princess to wake up and live happily ever after. It brings you back to that childhood where everything is okay. So when you leave the theaters, that sensation of like, oh my God, this is magical, this is beautiful. And then, it's like, for us, it's selling positivity. Like, as a dancer, the only
goal, at least.
Yeah, the only thing that matters to us is it's seeing all the smiles at the end and listen to applause. It's like all the hard work, it doesn't matter for us. It's just that little child is skipping at the end. So we touch it one person, you know what I mean? Like, and that's beautiful.
I love that. I love that. And I love the idea that, it takes us away from our normal experience in some ways and helps us to kind of experience something that is magical and beautiful, that might strengthen us and give us more, energy and passion to live out our normal lives, which is beautiful. I love that.
Ballet can be very like integrating, like, and because, for example, at Sleeping Beauty, a lot of things is miming. So the dancers don't speak, right? So, like, for example, they say, this is dancing. Cara Boss tell that, when she grow up, she's going to prick her finger and die. So if you think about, like, what is more putting people in equality than a show that everybody that we watch will understand? You know what I mean? Because it doesn't matter if you're a professional, you don't need to be dancing. You know what the signs mean. And, a kid that has, some deficiency can come and watch it. And even though they might don't listen to the music, but they will enjoy because they are understanding. So it's really powerful for us, like, bringing this old ballets. What people don't understand is the power that they have.
And the really fun thing about, you mentioned the music a little bit. So much of the music is used in commercials and day-to-day life, in the background of an elevator, in a restaurant somewhere. And so it's amazing when people come and they're like, wait, I know this song. And it's connecting. It connects everyone and it brings everyone together, that's the main goal of ballet. It doesn't always come across that way, I think, but that is the goal.
Yeah.
Is to make it accessible and relatable and good for everyone.
I just want to follow up on one of the points that Felipe, you made too, and I love that. I love this, that the idea about it is connecting to connecting us in a powerful way. You were talking, Felipe, a little bit, and you both talked about it. Is this idea that ballet is acting? And it's really, that's really interesting for me, because usually what I'm thinking about acting, I'm thinking about the use of words, the words along with expression. But in a ballet, there's no words, but right, and music and dance, right, the body.
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting perspective for me, because I never thought of, and you're right, it's true. Acting is about expressing through body, and voice, I think, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's that part when we were talking about earlier that we come back to the human being, right? So, like, in the scene when Aurora pricks her finger, she immediately runs to the queen and the king to ask for help. So, like, how mentally, Isabel has to technically thinking like, oh my God, I have to point my feet here and do this there and then hit that pirouette. But at the same time, she's hurt. She's not feeling well. So she needs to, deep on her, find that, like, okay, if I was really sick, if I was really enchanted to die, how would I be feeling? And see, like, the whole court of ballet in the back that is watching, right? They are the people in the castle. They are not just standing there, they are making that whole scene happen. So when you watch from the audience, you understanding. So, the role of sometimes a person that is in the back, it's more important than what she's doing, because for her it's just a look. And they are like, oh my God, what is she doing? She's gonna die. So like that sense of like what is happening, it takes a village. And it's the beauty of, everybody working for one purpose, to tell you that is watching the story. So it's the fun parts of rehearsal everybody loves, because we can laugh off each other, and we need, we can be silly, we can be bold, and cannot be afraid of trying new things. Sarah Boss it's unbelievable to watch her parts, because she's this, bad witch. So she comes to character, and then she really thinks she's gonna, put all her, anger, from the king and queen not inviting her, from when, Princess Aurora born, to killing Princess Aurora. And it's just beautiful, and for us, I think I'm very excited for the children's show. We have a show that is an outreach program for schools. So it's a morning show. And when we do those parts, the kids, have the reactions on the audience, like, no, oh, she's coming. Oh my God, she died. Like when the prince kiss, Aurora, for them, they all laugh, because, like, oh my God, I saw them kissing. You know what I mean? So it's just like that for us it has no price. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, and I just realized that as you were talking, these, the emotions, the telling of the story, especially, through without words, it connects to the human condition, because we all know when we're in pain, or when we're afraid, and what you would do when you're afraid, or when you're excited and you feel love. It's so, back to Isabel's point about connecting all of humanity. You connect, when we telling the story, it's connecting us to that experience, because we all go through this day in and day out.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things we actually do when we're teaching our really young students. They're 6. And one of the things that we'll do, and you can do this even when they're 3 and they're just starting out and they don't know how to hold their bodies in a correct ballet way, but they do love to dance. They love dancing. Most children that I've met in some way, shape, or form love to dance. And it is completely, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And so when we get them, one of the biggest things that we teach them is that they can tell a story without using their voices. Because for so many little kids, they see a dog and they go woof, woof, woof. And so when you say, okay, well, we're going to pretend to be a dog, but how does a dog move? What tells that story that you are a dog? Or how can you show your emotions without using your words? How can you show us that you're sad? And it's amazing what they come up with. And it's so real, because they do know. They've seen people be sad. They've been sad. They know what it feels like. Or they've been happy or excited or surprised or scared. And it's amazing the stories that you can tell just with your body. And so they love it too. They think it's hilarious. And
it's the best part. Yeah.
It is. It's really fun to get them to express themselves without their words. And I think it's a beautiful thing as well.
And it's so powerful. Like it's a recent mom. So her daughter is a little bit more at 16 months. So Ella Norwen was like this tiny little thing that couldn't even like speak yet. She would sit and the student watching Isabel dancing, and you could see like in her eye, although we know it's her mom, but it's just like, it's more than that. Like the movement, the girls being on the point shoes, it's also magical. And she see like looking around and she was not even a year old.
Yeah.
And you can see like how it touches people, it's amazing.
Well, and it's, as you were saying earlier, you said that at 4 p.m. you like to dance and it makes you feel closer to God, which is beautiful. And that is ultimately what dance does. It brings you closer to everything, in my opinion. And as you were saying that, it made me think, because really all kids dance. and they dance in a way that is purely them. And that's beautiful and wonderful. And they hear music and immediately just start moving in some way, shape, or form. And it's, as they get older, you get embarrassed. You think that there's a right or a wrong way, but there's not. Dance really is for everybody.
Everyone.
And it can just be your head, it can be your fingers, it can be whatever, but it's how the music makes you feel. And I think it's really powerful to hear that you dance, and because it is for everybody.
Yeah, I don't dance well, but
there's no such thing.
There's
If you're
no
dancing
such
for
a thing.
you and for God, that's what it's about.
Oh, both of you have been inspirational for me. The fact that you're doing this in our community, helping to bring people together around dance and the arts, which is beautiful. The second thing that makes me inspired by you is that you both of you and your team just love to mentor this joy in kids, and I applaud you. I thank you for that. And then of course, thank you for acknowledging that even I dance.
There's no wrong way to dance.
Has not. And that's a big part that we try to tell people all the time. You know what I mean? Of course, like everything else that you do, like if you want to become a doctor, you have to go to, a school and study for many, many years to become a good doctor. In the dance is the same thing.
To be a professional ballet dancer, you have to train for it, but
you don't have to.
But you don't have to dance. Dance is for everybody.
It's for everybody. So and we tell that for new parents when they come to sign up kids to the studio, right? We were like, they don't need to be a prima ballerina. They need to be the best version of themselves. Because dance teach them a good character. They will be able to work in any other organization, and they will know, to respect each other. They will know how to work in a group. They will learn things quicker. They are gonna, many things. Dedication, work ethic.
It teaches so much more than just how to be a ballet dancer.
Right, and I also think the other thing is also about learning how to dance, and maybe with learning from professionals, is this idea about connecting your body.
Absolutely.
Feeling. I mean, the other day I was doing yoga because I haven't done yoga in a while, right? And so that's a part of my Lenten practice this time, and I'm conscious and aware of different parts of my body that I'm not used to, right? Yes. I could feel myself grounded through my feet, or I could breathe, as I stretch in different parts of my body. So it's this idea about, even with ballet, learning ballet or learning ballroom dancing or knowing where your body is and feeling it. And then that in itself is a gift, because sometimes we're not aware.
No.
And just putting a little thing right there, like often when we talk about like our experiences as dancers, right? Yes, we love to be on stage. Yes, we love to wear pretty costumes. Yes, we love to learn a new repertoire. But when you ask a dancer, what do you miss the most of being a dancer, is being with the people that understand you and the touch. Right? When you get in a dance studio, the first thing people do is hugging each other. We are not afraid of that. They're looking into people's eyes. When you partner with, in a dance, you have to really deep looking into your partner eyes, because you have to work in the balance, right? So you talk like, okay, more to the right, more to the left. So that eye contact is really important. And it's missing that so much now in nowadays society, that for us, and for our kids, we see on our, professional division, which is the kids that want to become a dancer. When they go out to bigger schools for like summer intensives, they are in a group of like 30, girls or boys, and they all understand each other. So it's very different. They come back from the summer kind of like recharged to the rest of the year, because normal days when they go like to normal high school or middle school, those people don't understand them, don't have the same, eye contact or beliefs, let's put it that way. And then when you are in the dance studio, that's your safe place. Those people will look you in the eyes. They will give you a big hug. And no matter what happens, they are cheering from each other. Like we have friends for life
Yeah.
that they are in the same company, and then sometimes they will get the first part and you will be, behind. But it's always that like, oh my God, I'm so grateful for you.
Absolutely.
Go forward. It's just so different. You know
and
what I mean?
I think back to what you were saying about being connected to your body. As dancers, you are so connected to your body. And so in some ways, I think when people are more connected with their bodies, whether it be through dance or yoga or anything, I think in general, it's easier to be empathetic with
Yes.
the people around you, because if someone's in pain, you understand what that feels like because you know what your body feels like. And I think in our world today, it's really easy to be disconnected through a phone, through a computer, through any sort of screen, or just through the busyness of your day-to-day life. And so in ballet, it's easy to do that because when you come into the studio, you don't have your phone, you don't have any technology, really, you have music, and then you have the people that you're surrounded with. And so it's easy to disconnect from the disconnectedness, I guess. Be present. And I think when you have that time to be present and you can connect with your body and feel what needs attention, whether it's the physical touch that he was talking about, or just being grounded with another person and looking at them and talking with them and connecting on a different level, not through a device, I think is really powerful and impactful.
And the equality, like when you are in a big ballet, right? You often in a court of ballet, which let's put the one that everybody knows, like it's Swan Lake, right? So you have a line of 30 girls looking exactly the same. So that doesn't give you a sense of, oh, I'm better than you. Mm-hmm. They are all working the same. They have to look exactly the same and do the same movement. And that makes you so humble and looking to your neighbor as like, okay, doesn't matter if she's more this or he's more that, we are doing the same part. And I think
you have to work together.
And you work together.
The only way for that to work, for everyone to look uniform in a court of ballet, is for everyone to work together and be committed to working together as a group.
Yeah.
And that's so beautiful. I love that idea because I never thought of that, because the idea about that, the connection, you're watching very closely, you're looking at each other, you're responding to the person right in front of you. Isabel, I love what you just said about being present, and I guess that's what God calls us to be, present in this moment.
Absolutely.
Alive and aware. And I'm really thankful for this conversation with both of you. It's really inspiring to hear people in dance are helping change the world by helping us to be aware, and it's beautiful. And I'm looking forward to coming to my first ballet.
Yes, we are so excited.
I'll bring my wife with me. We'll be there, and we'll cheering you on, and also trying to understand the story. And Felipe, I am just so grateful for you and you and Tim in our lives, and Isabel. It's a joy to meet you today also. Is there any parting inspirational thing that you want to leave us? Any thought that, especially as people go through different ways of challenge and alienation and stuff?
Go for it.
For me, like we've been talking throughout, this is the power of being present and being connected with people around you in any way, shape, or form, whether that's smiling at the person checking you out at the grocery store, or when someone cuts you off in the line driving or anything, to not immediately get upset and frustrated, but it's having the empathy and the wherewithal to think, maybe they needed to get in front of me today. That's what they needed. And it's okay. It doesn't hurt me.
Yeah.
It's fine. But really just connecting with people around you, I think, is something that is really beneficial for everyone. And so the more that you think you can do that, the better.
Yeah. And for me, I think it's asking people to come to the theater and watch, like we are having our show, of course, but like anything you see in the theater. I think people it's missing that sense of it's such a joy. Like when you go to a theater, it's just magical. As she said, like
It really
just
is.
getting inside of the theater, it's like when you were a kid and you go watch, your favorite movie, your favorite character, and getting to know more characters and getting to know more forms of art, it changes you. And I think if you can, and that's why for us it's really important, this project, because we want to make this accessible. And I know a lot of theaters in our community are fighting to make art accessible. So really take the opportunity and go to a theater, because it transforms you.
Well, I find both of you inspirational and transformational. Thank you for being
Thank
with us
you.
today.
Thank
And again, good luck on the performance, and
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
God bless you. Friends, Felipe and Isabel, we thank they're amazing people, and they have a program that's coming up, and we'll be putting a link to that program. And you could also, on this Food for Thought program, connect to that link to see all the details of it. But now our time is going very quickly, and in fact, we've talked for a long time, but that was such an interesting conversation for me, and I hope that you found it interesting as well. Let's end with the Lord's Prayer. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Friends, go in peace and love and serve God. Spread the light of Christ to the world around you. The world needs it as we connect with one another.
Thanks for watching. Did you know that you can join Christ Church from anywhere in the world? If you're feeling connected to what we're doing, email us today at communicate@christchurchwesterly.org.